The power of togetherness. In every stage of life, we are bound by invisible threads that tie us to others. When we are children, these threads are obvious: our parents, our siblings, our friends at school. In adulthood, the bonds may change shape: colleagues, spouses, children of our own. But as we move into the later years, into the delicate and reflective season of elderhood, these threads become more fragile, and too often, they are severed. Many seniors find themselves alone, living quietly, with fewer voices around them. Yet, in this silence lies a powerful truth. Those who remain connected, who stay within a circle of care, tend to live longer, healthier, and more joyful lives. The sacred circle is not just a metaphor. It is a reality woven into the history of humankind. Communities have always been the source of strength, healing, and survival. Elders who gather with others, who share meals, laughter, stories, and prayers consistently outlive those who walk the path of life in solitude. This is not only about companionship, it is about life itself. To belong is to thrive. To be surrounded is to flourish. Today, modern science has begun to uncover what ancient wisdom has always known: community is medicine, loneliness is a poison, and connection is the antidote. In villages across the world, where people live to 90, 100, and beyond the so-called blue zones, we see a common thread. These elders are never truly alone. Their neighbors, friends, and extended families form circles that nurture them, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In these sacred circles, elders are not forgotten. They are revered, cherished, and integrated into the rhythm of daily life. This is the story we will explore: the sacred circle of community, and why it has the power to extend the lives of elders. Over the next chapters, we will journey through science and spirituality, through villages and cities, through past traditions and modern challenges. We will listen to the voices of those who lived long lives, and we will discover the timeless lesson they leave us. We are not meant to age alone. Part 2. The loneliness epidemic. Among seniors, loneliness is often spoken of quietly, almost in whispers, as if it were a private shame. But for elders, loneliness is not an occasional visitor. It can become a daily companion. Across the world, millions of seniors wake up each morning to an empty house, prepare meals to be eaten in silence, and fall asleep without the comfort of another voice nearby. This emptiness is not only emotionally, it is deeply physical, impacting the body as much as the heart. Researchers now describe loneliness as one of the most dangerous epidemics of our time, especially for older adults. Studies show that chronic loneliness increases the risk of early death by as much as 26%. To put it another way, being lonely can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It weakens the immune system, increases blood pressure, fuels depression, and even accelerates cognitive decline for seniors already facing the challenges of aging. Loneliness adds an invisible weight that pulls them down faster than any physical illness. Imagine an elder who once lived in a bustling household, with children running around, neighbors dropping by, and friends sharing tea at the table. Now imagine the same person, years later. Sitting in the same house, but the children are grown, the neighbors have moved, friends have passed away, and the phone rings less and less. The same walls that once echoed with laughter now echo only with silence. The silence seeps into the bones, into the soul, reminding the elder that the world has moved on without them. But why is loneliness so destructive? Because human beings were never designed to live in isolation. From the beginning of time, survival depended on the tribe, the village, the circle. To be alone meant danger. To be surrounded meant safety. This ancient instinct remains within us, even as society has modernized. Elders especially feel this instinct deeply. Their bodies and spirits know that life is richer, healthier, and longer when shared. What makes this epidemic even more painful is that it often goes unnoticed. Seniors do not always speak of their loneliness. They may hide it behind polite smiles, short conversations, or the phrase, "I'm fine." Yet behind those words lies an ache, a longing for connection. The tragedy is not that elders are unwilling to connect, it is that society in its rush toward youth and productivity, too often forgets to slow down and sit beside them. The loneliness epidemic is not an individual problem, it is a collective one. When elders are left alone, entire communities lose their wisdom, their stories, their warmth. A lonely elder is not just a person in isolation, they are a library closed, a song unsung, a prayer unheard. When we understand this, we begin to see that healing loneliness is not only about helping one person, it is about healing the soul of society itself. And yet, where there is an epidemic, there can also be a cure. The cure for loneliness is not a pill or a therapy session, it is the sacred circle of community. The circle reminds the elder, you are seen, you are valued, you are not alone. And in that circle, life lengthens, joy returns, and the heart grows stronger. Asterisk Part 3. The scientific proof, community, and longevity for centuries. The wisdom of elders and the practices of ancient cultures have told us that life is longer and richer when lived in community. Today, modern science confirms this truth with clarity and precision. The connection between social bonds and longevity is no longer a mystery, it is measurable, observable, and undeniable. Researchers studying longevity around the world consistently find that social connection is one of the strongest predictors of a long life. In fact, it often outweighs even diet and exercise. A groundbreaking study from Harvard University known as the Harvard Study of Adult Development followed participants for over 80 years. The conclusion was striking. The greatest predictor of long-term health and happiness was not wealth, not fame, not even genetics, it was the strength of relationships. Those who felt connected, supported, and loved lived longer and healthier lives than those who felt isolated. Another large-scale study published in PLOS Medicine reviewed data from more than 300,000 individuals. The findings revealed that people with strong social relationships had a 50% increased chance of survival compared to those with weak social ties. To put this into perspective, the health benefit of having close connections is greater than the benefit of quitting smoking or maintaining a healthy weight. Community is not just a comfort, it is a lifeline. But why does connection add years to life? Science offers several explanations. When elders interact with others, whether through conversation, laughter, or shared activities, the body releases beneficial chemicals such as oxytocin and endorphins. These natural substances reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and strengthen the immune system. In contrast, isolation increases levels of cortisol, the stress hormone that damages the heart, weakens immunity, and accelerates aging. Furthermore, being part of a community provides accountability. Elders who meet friends regularly are more likely to stay active, eat well, and follow medical advice. Community provides gentle encouragement. A neighbor reminding you to take a walk, a friend inviting you to share a meal, a fellow elder asking about your health. These small acts become powerful guardians of well-being. We see this vividly in the world's blue zones regions where people live far longer than average. In Okinawa, Japan, elders belong to lifelong circles of friends called moe, where they gather daily for conversation and support. In Sardinia, Italy, elders remain deeply woven into village life, sharing meals, laughter, and responsibilities. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, community bonds are so strong that even the oldest members of society remain active, valued, and joyful. Across these cultures, the evidence is the same. Strong community equals long life. Science also shows that connection protects the mind as well as the body. Elders who remain socially engaged are less likely to suffer from dementia and memory loss. Conversation stimulates the brain, while shared experiences create new neural pathways. A study from the University of Michigan found that even just 10 minutes of social interaction a day can significantly improve memory and cognitive function in seniors. 10 minutes. Imagine, then, the profound effect of daily meaningful engagement. Within a caring community, the message is clear. To live long, live connected. The sacred circle of community is not only emotional nourishment, it is biological medicine. The science proves what the heart has always known. We are designed for each other. Alone, we wither. Together, we thrive. Part 4. Elders in Villages versus Elders in Isolation. When we compare the lives of elders in traditional villages to those in modern isolation, the contrast is striking, like looking at two different worlds. One is filled with laughter, shared meals, children running through courtyards, and the comforting presence of neighbors. The other is often defined by silence, empty rooms, and television, and their bonds sustain them. Studies show that Sardinia has one of the highest concentrations of centenarians in the world, proof of the life-extending power of community. Now contrast this with the experience of elders in many modern cities. Too often, they live in apartments or houses, far from family, surrounded by neighbors they barely know. The once vibrant social ties dissolve into polite nods at best. Technology offers some connection, but screens cannot replace the warmth of human presence. In these environments, elders may go days or even weeks without meaningful interaction. Meals are eaten alone, stories go untold, and wisdom remains unshared. Isolation creates a silent suffering. It is not that these elders have lost their value, it is that society has stopped recognizing it. In a culture that idolizes youth and productivity, the role of the elder is often diminished, leaving them feeling invisible. The vibrant circle of village life is replaced by the solitary square of four walls. The difference is not just emotionally, is life or death. Elders in isolation face higher rates of illness, depression, and early mortality. Consider the story of Maria, a woman from rural Greece. In her village, she spent her mornings baking bread for her family and neighbors, tending to her garden, and evenings surrounded by laughter as grandchildren played at her feet. When her family later moved her to a modern city apartment, her life changed drastically. The garden was gone. The neighbors were strangers. The grandchildren visited only occasionally. Though her health had once been strong, within a few years, she grew frail and weary. Her body withered, not from age alone, but from the loss of her circle. These stories remind us that community is not a luxury, it is a necessity. In villages, elders thrive because they are seen, heard, and valued. In isolation, elders fade, because the human soul cannot survive long without connection. The lesson is simple yet profound. The village gives life, while isolation takes it away. If we want our elders to live not only long but well, we must bring the spirit of the village into the modern world. The sacred circle can exist anywhere if only we choose to build it. Part 5. Ancient traditions of communal living across the world. Throughout history, one truth has remained constant. Humans were never meant to walk through life alone. Every culture, no matter how distant or different, developed forms of communal living where elders held honored places in the social fabric. These traditions were not just about survival, they were about meaning, connection, and the flow of wisdom from one generation to the next. In Native American tribes, elders were the storytellers, the keepers of sacred knowledge. Around the fire, they passed down creation stories, lessons of morality, and practical guidance for living in harmony with nature. Children sat wide-eyed, listening to the voices of their grandparents, while adults leaned in, eager for counsel in times of conflict or uncertainty. The elder was a bridge between the past and the future, ensuring that no wisdom was lost. In ancient China, Confucian philosophy placed filial piety, the respect and care for parents and elders, at the heart of society. Families lived in multi-generational households where grandparents helped raise children and were cared for in return. To disrespect or abandon an elder was unthinkable, as their children and grandchildren, their voices shaping family decisions. In Africa, the concept of Ubuntu, I am because we are, expresses the deep interconnection of all people. Elders in African villages often gather under the palaver tree, a sacred place where community issues are discussed and resolved. Their voices are considered vital, for they carry the experience of decades. An elder's word is not dismissed. As outdated, is celebrated as the most valuable perspective in the room. In the Middle East, Elders were traditionally the heads of extended families, known as sheiks or matriarchs, who guided their clans in spiritual, social, and even economic matters. Their homes were open gathering places where hospitality and wisdom flowed freely. To sit at the feet of an elder was to drink from a well of knowledge. Even in medieval Europe, before industrialization fractured communities, villages were tightly woven networks. Elders often lived in the same cottages for generations, surrounded by familiar faces and family. They were entrusted with oral histories, traditions, and the responsibility of guiding moral life. To be old was not to be dismissed, but to be revered. What all these traditions reveal is that the elder was never left behind. They were not hidden away nor made to feel useless. Instead, their value increased with age, like fine wine or ancient oak. Their wrinkles were badges of honor, their gray hair a crown. To live communally meant that no elder faced life's final years alone. They faced them in the warm embrace of their people. When we look at the modern world, where elders often live apart from family and community, we can see how far we have drifted from these ancient ways. Yet the wisdom remains within us, waiting to be remembered. The old traditions whisper a clear message. If we wish to live long, meaningful lives, we must return to the circle, where no one is forgotten and every voice matters. Part 6. The circle as a sacred symbol across cultures throughout human history. One shape appears again and again in art, ritual, and tradition: the circle. From ancient carvings to modern gatherings, the circle has always symbolized unity, eternity, and balance. And when we speak of the community of elders, we return once more to this sacred symbol: the circle of life, the circle of connection, circle of wisdom. In Native American traditions, the circle holds profound spiritual meaning. The sacred hoop or medicine wheel represents the interconnectedness of all things past, present, and future: life, death, and rebirth. Communities gather in circles to ensure that no one is above or below another, no one excluded, every voice equally important. Elders, when seated in the circle, are not placed at the margins, but at the very center, as guides and guardians. In Celtic culture, the circle appeared in stone formations, knotwork, and rituals, symbolizing eternity and the cycles of nature. Life was understood as a wheel, turning with the seasons, renewing itself through birth and death. Elders in Celtic villages were seen as those who had walked further along the wheel, carrying insights that only time could reveal. In Eastern traditions, such as Buddhism and Hinduism, the mundal intricate circular patterns represents wholeness and the universe itself. These designs remind us that life is not linear, but cyclical. What begins must end, and what ends begins again. Elders in these traditions embody this truth, their lives reflecting the full arc of the circle. African villages also reflect the symbolism of the circle. Homes are often built around a central gathering space, emphasizing unity and equality. Meetings take place in circles, ensuring that all voices are heard. The physical arrangement mirrors the philosophy: no elder stands eternity and the infinite love of the divine. Elders sitting with their families around a round table continue this ancient imagery, embodying the unbroken bond of love and continuity. Why is the circle so universal? Because it reflects life itself. The rising and setting sun, the phases of the moon, the cycle of seasons all move in circles. Our very lives form a circle, from childhood to adulthood to elderhood, and then back into the mystery of death and renewal. The circle teaches us that nothing is wasted, no stage of life is meaningless. Elders are not the end of the line, they are the closing of the circle. It's holding together all that came before. In community, when elders gather with the young in a circle, something magical happens. Knowledge flows freely. The young look ahead with hope, the old look back with wisdom, and together they form a complete picture of life. The circle is sacred because it reminds us we belong to one another, endlessly and equally. When we honor the circle, we honor the elder. And when we honor the elder, we keep the circle of humanity unbroken.